It is on to the LA Chargers. Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to another Chicago Bears preview. I am APWSPORTS signing in, and this week, the Bears are in primetime football on Sunday night, and they are going on the road to take on the Los Angeles Chargers and one of our former Bears, Khalil, Mack. It is interesting to see how this game is going to go, but today, that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about things that we're going to look to see, all that preview and predictions of this Bears primetime Saturday Night Football contest of Week 8. But nonetheless, without further ado, let's dive into it. All right, so we're going to start with this Bears offense going up against the Chargers defense. Two things. Number one, we already know Justin Fields has officially been ruled out for this ball game, which means Tyson Bagent gets his second career NFL start. And two, some good news for the Bears. They are going to get Roschon Johnson back after missing the last couple weeks with the concussion protocol. So I think that's going to boost more of a running game with Johnson, Foreman, and also Evans, who's coming off a very solid game last week against the Raiders. Now, we're going up against the Chargers defense that can get after the quarterback, Joey Bosa from the Ohio State University, and also a guy that we've seen over the past few years, Khalil Mack, who's already registered a 6-sack game this season. Now, I think getting Johnson back is going to give this Bears running game a boost. And we've seen how successful it was last week against the Raiders. But the Chargers come into this game with one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL. So I think the Bears, if they can get a successful running game going, can really get this thing much easier for a guy like Tyson Bagent. Even though he's going up against, I think, two very good players, Asante Samuel Jr. at that corner spot, and I think one of the best safeties in football, in Derwin James. I think if the Bears are able to run a football against the Chargers defense with Sebastian Joseph-Day, who is a productive player in the interior of their defensive line, that can set up so much to what this Bears team can do, whether it's rollouts, whether it's play action, to get the ball to weapons like DJ Moore, Mooney, and Scott. Now, one thing I did like from the Bears last week against the Raiders is that Tyler Scott was a little bit more involved with the offense, and I like to see that. But the Bears do have another bad thing going for them, is that Nate Davis has officially been ruled out for this game. So we might see some little shuffling, Whitehair, Lucas Patrick, Satire Carter is not necessarily sure of how this Bears offensive line is going to be starting. And Darnell, he did look like he wasn't going to play, but he is ruled in for this ball game, and that is going to be a big help for the Bears on that offensive line. Now, one thing, you're going to have to contain a guy like Khalil Mack. We know what Khalil Mack can do. We've seen it when he was in the Chicago Bears uniform. And like I said before, he's already had a 6-sack game this season. So I think slowing down this Chargers pass rush with effective running game, with play action, with some rollouts and moving the pocket, I think that is going to be key as the Bears are trying to pull off this upset on Sunday Night Football. Now, of course, having Roschon Johnson back and Deontay Foreman, who I think are two very productive backs in the Chicago Bears backfield, is going to be key because the Bears, we've seen a running back by committee. Now, Tyson Bagent, he had a solid game last week. It's interesting to see if he can continue this solid play, the effective play going. Now, the numbers didn't look great, and you guys already know I'm really not a numbers guy. But as long as I think he's efficient of throwing the football, doesn't create turnovers, takes care of the football, and accurate with the throws that he makes, I think that is going to give the Bears more of a chance to pull off this upset on Sunday Night Football with a good running game and with spreading the ball to your Mooneys, to your Moores, to your Scott, to get Kmet more involved. I think is going to set off so much. I think Eric Kendricks on Kmet is going to be an interesting matchup. Kenneth Murray is on that, is going to be an interesting matchup as well. So I'm interested to see how the Bears can take advantage, and the Bears and Luke Getz can take advantage of this porous Chargers pass defense. But I also think running the football is going to set up so much of what they want to do and make things a little bit easier for a guy like Badger, who's in his second career start, with Fields being out again with that thumb injury. Now we're going to talk about this Bears defense going up against the Chargers offense. Now we know the Chargers offense can score points with Herbert at their quarterback position, with a guy like Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler, who are very good players for them. Josh Palmer's questionable. Jared Everett is questionable. Darnell Parham is a very solid player. But one thing that they have going against them is that Corey Linsley from the Ohio State is out at the center position. And even though Rashawn Slater, I think, is one of the best left tackles in football when healthy, the Bears are going to have to get after Herbert in some way, whether it's Ngakoue, DeMarcus Walker. I want to see more from DeMarcus Walker, in my opinion. Billings, Jones. I think they are going to have to be a little bit stout in the running game, especially with a guy like Austin Eckler who can do some things in the backfield. Now, last week against the Raiders, the Bears slowed down the last year's leading rusher and Josh Jacobs and held them to about 50 yards rushing. I think the Bears are going to have that same type of performance this week, especially with Brisker and Eddie Jackson being questionable for this ball game. Even though Elijah Hicks looked strong, Tyreek Stevenson looked solid, even though he had some penalties. Jalen Johnson with 2 picks, Kyler Gordon making plays. I just think the interesting matchup is how are Edmunds and Edwards going to affect the running backs like Eckler and the tight ends like Everett and Parham. And Parham is a big guy at 6'7". So how are the effectiveness is that going to go? And also as well, how can the Bears minimize the effectiveness of Austin Eckler? Now, like I said before, Justin Herbert, I think, is one of the premier quarterbacks in this league, one of the premier talents. It's just this Chargers team, they haven't really been consistent all season long. So can the Bears slow down Eckler? Can the Bears minimize the effectiveness of and the accuracy of Herbert and get after him? Because the more pressure you're going to put on a guy like Herbert, I think that is going to be a thing that kind of throws him off of his game, kind of makes him make some decisions that are kind of questionable, and get some turnovers to get this offense of the Bears in better field position and make things a little bit easier for this Bears offense to capitalize and score points in a ball game like this that I think is going to be close. So getting pressure, slowing down Eckler, and making Justin Herbert make some mistakes that he has a little bit of a tendency to make, I think is going to be key in a game like this. But my pick is in, and I am going to roll with the Chicago Bears in this game. And honestly, I think it's going to be close, but I think the Bears can pull off an upset, and I think this is going to be a score of 17-14. I personally think the Bears running game is going to keep the Chargers offense off the field, win the time of possession, and the Bears are going to capitalize some of their drives into points, because I think the Bears could force a turnover or two on Justin Herbert and getting pressure on him. And the running game is going to be so effective. And I think the Bears are going to sustain some of those longer drives and convert those longer drives into points. And the running game is going to be key. And the Bears getting after Herbert and slowing down Eckler, I think, can do that, and it's going to be key. It's going to be a close one. I'm not going to say it's big of a blowout. 17-14. Bears win in a very close game on the road, and they pull off the upset. But those are my thoughts. Make sure you guys leave the video a like. Leave your picks and comments in the section down below, and I would love to see what you guys think. But I'm APWSPORTS signing out. Make sure you guys stay safe. Have a great next day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.